Gore-Tex or non-Gore-Tex boots? That's a topic that comes up regularly here at Summit Tactical when people come in to buy combat boots. In front of me I've got the Fugitive Tactical. If you haven't seen the first video about this, this is a great all-round combat boot. Some of the features that make it so are the enclosed lace system, alright, so it's easy to put on at night time. You're not hunting for those metal eyelets that everyone misses. They also prevent you getting snagged on things like fast ropes, etc. when you're sliding down them. It's got a rubber toe protector on the front of the toe box, a grippy compound to the sole with self-cleaning lugs. It's nice and lightweight for a combat boot, and obviously it's easy to clean and it's in a subdued colourway. Right, so it's a great all-round combat boot. It comes in a Gore-Tex and non-Gore-Tex variant. So which one should you pick? Well, ideally, guys, you can have both, okay? And then a good sock system to go with it. So let's talk about Gore-Tex to start with. What's Gore-Tex designed to do? Well, in a nutshell, it's designed to keep water out but allow the foot to breathe, okay? And it's kind of like a one-way barrier system. However, if you get the sock system wrong that's inside the boot, it's going to lead to issues. Some people don't like Gore-Tex because they don't think it's breathable. It's designed to breathe, guys. That's what it's supposed to do. And Gore-Tex has got a lot better over the years. However, if you get your sock system wrong or too tight, you're going to have issues with a Gore-Tex boot. The downside of Gore-Tex is once it's wet, it tends to stay wet. So, which boots do we use for what? I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs here, guys. Right, obviously, you probably know that a Gore-Tex boot is designed for the wet weather conditions. Okay, so think about places like Bridge, where you get every single type of variant of weather in one day, probably about 10 times a day as well. You're probably going to want a Gore-Tex boot. So if you're standing around in wet, muddy conditions, where the foot's going to get submerged but not all the way, a Gore-Tex boot is ideal for that. Couple that with a good sock system, okay, and you're probably going to keep your feet nice and warm. So here at Summit Tactical then, we sell the bridge style socks, and really what you want in a Gore-Tex boot is a merino wool sock, okay, because that's going to allow your foot to breathe correctly through the Gore-Tex layer. The next best kind of material that you would go for is a synthetic blend, okay, and then what you want to avoid is anything made out of cotton, okay. And the worst thing that you could put in there, that's right in front of me, is one of these waterproof socks we sell, Storm Sock. So if you was to put a waterproof layer over your foot inside a Gore-Tex boot, you're preventing the purpose of the Gore-Tex, which is allow your foot to breathe but keep moisture out. So in effect, basically what you're doing is putting a plastic bag inside another plastic bag, or words to that effect. Your foot's not going to breathe, eventually you're going to get trench foot. Okay, so avoid doing that. In the sort of warmer months, okay, you're probably going to want something like this, which is our mid-weight merino wool sock, all right? And that's going to allow your foot to be comfortable in a Gore-Tex boot. Now, if you were to put a liner underneath this, this would be great if you were yomping or tabbing, okay, because you're going to get some blister prevention. But also you're going to get a kind of layer system. So think about the principle of colder. One of those is layer, okay? So layering, which is the L obviously. To put the liner sock underneath the mid-weight, you're going to get that layer system. It's going to keep your foot more thermally insulated, but also allow friction to not develop between your foot and the mid-weight sock, all right? Hence, less blisters. Now in the colder months, you're probably going to push towards a heavyweight sock, right? But again, sticking with a merino wool blend, okay? The one thing I'll say about going to thicker socks, guys, is you still want room within that boot for your foot to breathe. So if you was to put these socks on and that Gore-Tex boot was super tight, you're going to have issues again, all right? Because you're still not going to be able to, your foot's still not going to be able to breathe within that boot, okay? So when you're sizing your boots, think about what socks you're going to wear with it, okay? And if you want to come to Summit Tactical and try them on, I'll let you do that, okay? We've got a set of trial socks for you to put on with each boot. So, when will we wear a non-Gore-Tex boot then? Now, always for me, I always thought my non-Gore-Tex boot as my camp boot and fizz boot. However, there is a time when I would use this in the field. So, the main time would be when I know my foot is going to be submerged and wet for long periods of time. That's when sometimes I would use that Storm Sock, okay? Very, very rarely. But think about maritime boarding operations for bootnecks amongst us. All right, if I know my feet are going to be wet all the time, I am going to wear this type of boot, because at the end of the day, it's quicker for it to dry out. Now, when I'd wear something like this, is if, for example, I've been on a boarding op, my foot had got wet. On the way back, I want to try and dry my feet out a little bit. I would change out of the wet socks, dry my feet off, stick a set of these on, put my feet back in these boots, all right? And I know that they're going to stay reasonably dry for the period of time it takes me to transit back to my boat. Okay, then I'd try and dry my boots out correctly. Okay, so that's when I'd probably use a waterproof sock. I'd never yomp or tab or anything in these, because your feet don't breathe, guys. So, thinking about how we deservice our kit when we come out the field, guys, and again, not teaching anyone to suck eggs, but if you look after your boots, they're going to look after you. So it's really easy to do with Fugitive Tacticals. All you're going to do is wash them off, get any dirt from the outside off, okay, use warm soapy water, and then allow them to dry. Now, don't stick them in a red hot drying room, all right, because you're going to harden your boot up. You want an ambient temperature drying room, slightly warmer than room temperature probably. And if it's Gore-Tex, stick some newspaper in there, okay, and that's going to aid in them drying out. But the main emphasis is on getting any dirt on the exterior of the boot off, okay, because again, going back to the principle of colder, you're always going to make sure that anything that you've got is clean, okay, so it's serviceable. All right, so Gore-Tex versus non-Gore-Tex. Yeah, my Gore-Tex boot is going to be my field boot, and my non-Gore-Tex boot is going to be my camp and fizz boot. Unless I know my foot's going to get submerged, then I'm going to use the non-Gore-Tex version. So in a nutshell, guys, would I choose both? Yes, I would. If I was to pick one predominantly for the field, it would be the Gore-Tex variant. If I was to pick one predominantly for fizz and knocking around on camp, it'd be the non-Gore version. Hope that's cleared a few things up for you. But remember how important your sock system is within any boot. Okay, and make sure that that boot fits correctly, and you shouldn't have any issues. Chris from Summit Tactical. See you soon.